Reef DVM's coming at you, putting in the automatic water inside the goat kidding barn. We buried a faucet on the heated side, and we put water lines in for the kidding stalls and so forth on the heated side. But right on the edge of that is another kind of area where we want goats to be able to come in and out. And for that, we decided to put in a Richie. So I've got an insulated heated line here that comes out of the building, comes out about 6 to 8 inches, and then comes straight up right into a Richie. We're going to use some crack-resistant concrete. And as always, we're going to use our mixer, and we're going to box this thing in by 2x6s, and we're going to set some concrete. I'm going to put a shutoff valve because I like that prior to the Richie. And we're going to get, the little Richie, I think this is an Omni special for goats with its little heated water line and so forth. Get it all wired up here. I've opened the back of the electrical box. There's basically 3 wires you got to hook up. There's the ground, the common, and the hot. So I'm going to get that done. And then I'm going to place this thing on top of that concrete pad that we made. And I'm going to bolt it down into it. And it should work as a top view. Here I'm just kind of actually reading the instructions. I've never been the biggest fan of Richies. I worked on them before, and this one did the same thing a lot of them did to me. It gave me kind of, those mixed emotions, because you basically hook this water line up to the top of the float, and you try to wrap your heated pipeline around it, which is not as easy as it looks. And if you get it wrapped around it enough, in theory, it won't freeze. Again, we're talking, potentially inside this barn of probably negative 10 at the most, but it's still a possibility. So got everything wired up, got it pushed back into the box that it needs to go back into, which is good. Got that taken care of. And then put the cover back on the box, and then tried to kind of set this thing in place. Again, the difficult part with these Richies is really got to do with that, heated cable that keeps your water line open, at least on the top half. Because, you're working in about a 4-inch PVC pipe, trying to thread that thing down into it and get it in place. I did the best I could here up on the top. I've got the float situated where I want it. I've got it sitting on the concrete. Of course, I've got the valve off, and I'm playing a little bit again with, even on the inside of this, making sure that the wire that gives the heat is wrapped around it enough. If it's not, I'll fix it later, because unfortunately there's just no way of knowing until you actually get into the winter and see how it performs. As far as the actual function of the float and function of the box and that, obviously Richies are fantastic. I'm much more of a fan of the electricless bar A's, but the only downside to those is when you're inside a structure, they're kind of difficult to put in. I'd literally have to dig the 7 to 8 foot hole in the drain field on my own without equipment, because I can't get the excavator in here. So I'm not going to put one of those in. The other issue, obviously, with that in this kind of space that I'm working within is I would like the ability to have this managed for really tiny kids. And, even though kids are nursing and getting their liquid from mom through the milk, they still sometimes like to use the water. And the bar A's can be set pretty low to the ground, which is great. But that's one of the things that's really nice about these Richies too, is they can stay low to the ground. So here I've got the valve open. I've used a few zip ties very lightly and got them in place. Filling this thing up with water, and it seems to be filling quite well. I'm going to have to adjust the float here a little bit because I don't want it to fill too high with water. I want it to stay low enough so that the water stays fresh. I've learned with the Richies in the past, if you let them fill all the way up, the goats don't drink down a ton of water, and sometimes the water gets a little stale. I'm much more of a fan of putting the float in a very low position and forcing the water to come in and just fill it up each time, and keeping less water in it. Sure, the goat's got to reach in a little bit more, but again, with the Richie, you're only talking, 4 or 5 inches total, so they're only reaching in maybe a half inch to an inch more. Overall, the setup was pretty good. I think it took 4 bags of crack-resistant concrete with the 2x6s to make the pad. It's got about 4 feet of PVC, 4-inch, going down into the ground, to which the electrical and the water line comes up. And I've got the heated cable going all the way down that to the 90. I've got it up against a wall so that they can only access it from kind of like 3 sides. And I'm going to make sure the wall is protected by using basically a poly wash stall material behind it that the water can just hit it and drain off. So basically here the float has worked. It's stopped the flow of the water now, indicating it's going to do what I want. The kids carved 20 in it. It's the year of 2020, so what the heck. I've got it anchored down with 4 concrete spac screws into that concrete. I actually don't think I'll probably take the green treated border off this, and now I'm just working on putting up that wash stall, really hard plastic on the plywood, just to protect the plywood. The goats are going to be standing on this. They're going to jump on it. They're going to splash a lot of water. Eventually, it just wrecks the plywood faster. So by putting that up, it'll give us some protection. I had the 2 seams between them siliconed, so it should work really nicely. Appreciate you watching, folks. Please like and subscribe and support our homestead channel by following us, and we'll keep putting out great videos like this.